What's up, guys? It's McNulty here. Welcome back to the channel. I hope you guys are all doing well. And tonight we are going to be talking about one of my new favorite heroes, and it is this lovely lady, Guinevere, who is featured. Obviously, she is our legendary that is in the Rate Up Summon at the moment. And I'm here to tell you guys that she's a pretty damn good hero. So if you are sleeping on, trying to get hold of Guinevere, or you're not quite sure whether she's going to serve you well, hopefully this guide will help you make up your mind. So without any further ado, let us get right in. So here she is in all her glory, the lovely Guinevere. Just a look of absolute disdain for the rest of the evil bunches that are coming up against her. She is one of the good guys. If you do have a little dive in here, she's the daughter of someone called King Leodegrance of Camelot in northern Britain. If you like a bit of a story, she's one of the good guys. She's friends with the Fae and with Lancelot, and she's just a pretty damn good hero overall. So in terms of what she's doing, she is primarily a tank. So she's really, really good as a tank. That is where I would be using her. And she is extremely good against the final boss in the story mode, which is Crouch, and he is also in one of the dungeons, and he is also a boss in this event, the event dungeon that we've got going on at the moment. So if you want to beat him and you want to have it easy, then Guinevere is definitely your girl. So we'll start off with the basics. So as far as leader effect, she does get a leader effect. It activates in the origin of Apuleia, can't say that properly, and the Hound's Favor. So she grants all allies damage taken reduction of 10%, which is very strong. And her leader effect activates in the equipment dungeon Apuleia, which is the one where you get the defensive sets. So she's actually pretty well suited to defense sets, but she's also well suited to other things like drain sets of gear, for example, because she doesn't, in some of her kit, she doesn't give herself quite as much heal as the rest of the team. So just know that she is a defensive hero. She is a really, really good tank. She does have the preference to the weather, but again, like I said, I don't really want to dwell on that. The main thing about her is going to be her skills and how you're best using them. She does get the what do they call this, the co-op attack skill. This kind of works really well with her special, so I'm just going to mention it. She gets that with Lancelot, and she gets it with Arthur as well. So when she attacks an enemy with skill 1, there's a 30% chance for Arthur to use his skill 1 as well. I would say if you have Lancelot, you're going to get more out of it, because Lancelot applies damage over time effect on his skill 1, whether it's burn or I think it's freeze and bleed, depending on the weapon that you use with Lancelot. So she does pair really, really well with him when she uses her skill 1. Now, in terms of the passive, so we'll start with this first one here, which is called Romantic Reversal. This is the thing that makes it so that Crouch cannot attack you. So at the start of the battle, she grants all allies something called Romantic Reversal for 50 turns. Sounds like a huge amount of time, and trust me, it is. But there is a caveat to this, which we'll get to in a moment. So Romantic Reversal is abnormal status immunity. So skills cannot inflict abnormal status effects on this target, and she grants that to all of her other allies. She also increases the co-op attack damage. So remember I said that skill would be important. So she increases the co-op attack damage by 40%, and she applies a damage taken reduction. So having one of those other heroes, whether it's Lancelot or Arthur, next to Guinevere, they are going to get an increase on their damage that they hit with on their skill 1 with the co-op attacks, which is pretty cool. The Romantic Reversal, though, the main thing about that is abnormal status immunity. So you cannot apply any abnormal statuses to the rest of her allies, and that includes that horrible skill that Crouch uses to wipe the map. That's counted as an abnormal status. Alongside other things like burn, chill, frost, whatever the hell else is coming at you. So she grants immunity to that at the start of the battle for 50 turns. So basically for the whole battle. But then you gain something called Glimmer of Hope. for the rest of the battle, which unfortunately I'd rather not gain, but you do get it. So Glimmer of Hope, when she's hit, there's a 100% chance to reduce the duration of Romantic Reversal by 9 turns for all allies except herself. So she can keep it, but she's going to reduce it every time she's hit. So that 50 turns then probably turns into more like maybe 9 or 10 turns. And it's a 100% chance to grant effect resistance increase to all allies except yourself for 4 turns. So they get a resistance, but they also get a reduction on their abnormal immunity or abnormal status immunity. So I hope that makes sense. It is still a really, really, really strong passive, and I would advise that you look to level this one up. I know you can't really tell which one you're going to get, but the amount of turns increases with skill ups. It's still, 20 turns as it is at skill 1, but then you can increase it all the way up to 50 turns at skill 3, which is just bananas. Absolute bananas, man. Okay, so the second passive is Princess's Favor. So upon being hit when her current HP is 50% or lower, she grants a shield, 20% of her max HP to all allies except herself for 2 turns. She removes debuff, dot, and abnormal status ×2 from all allies, again except herself. So she basically cleanses everybody of any debuffs and also abnormal status ailments and dot ailments, and she clears everything from everybody, and she grants them a massive shield as well. But for her, she gains invincibility for 1 turn. And I think you may have come up against this. I certainly have quite a few times in the arena. When she gives that invincibility, it becomes almost impossible to kill her. Invincibility, I'll just click on it here. She cannot be hit by any harmful skills or take any damage. So the only way, in fact, the weird way that I found to get through this is to use Morgan on her skill 3. If I just go out here real quick, if I can go back 1 step to the codex. So Morgan on her skill 3, whether it's whichever weapon you're using, she gives this recovery disruption. And for some reason, that recovery disruption seems to remove the effect. So just a little tidbit for you guys there, because everybody will have Morgan. If you are going up against Guinevere and she's not dying, just set Morgan to skill 3 and you will be absolutely rocking it. Okay, so where are we? So we've done the second passive. So moving on to the third passive that we have here. So this one, at the start of the battle, it's Impenetrable Stance. So she gains a shield, 100% of Guinevere's max HP for 2 turns. She gains effect resistance increase for 2 turns and 100% chance to inflict damage dealt increase 2 on all enemies for 1 turn. So this is a common theme across her skills. She inflicts this damage dealt decrease, so it means that the enemy's not going to be able to hit you as hard. And that is a super important skill for a tank, as well as gaining that shield. It's not really the biggest thing at the start of the battle for 2 turns, but it is still there, so it's important to know. And giving them that, I would say the damage dealt decrease is the main part of that passive. In terms of leveling it up or skilling it up, number of effect increased turns, number of shield turns +1. That's pretty good at level 3, but again, not necessary. I would say the Romantic Reversal passive, absolutely essential to try and skill up. And then this one also, I really, really like this because the passive cooldowns decreased and the condition gives an extra 20% HP. Or plus 20% HP. So it starts at 30% HP, but you can get it up to 50%. So it is strong. But again, I would say out of all of them, the Romantic Reversal is probably the one that you want to skill up the most. So I hope that all makes sense. Now we will move on in terms of her weapons. She comes to us with the Storm weapon, which is the Eternal Glide. She also gets a Frost weapon, the Glorious Silver Wing, and a Flame weapon, the Searing Judgment. Now, both of the Flame and Frost weapons are available in the current event dungeon. And so I want to answer that question that some of you might have. Is it worth going for these extra weapons? Now, I don't think it's worth going for both extra weapons, but I do think it's worth going for one. And I'll tell you which one in just a second. So in terms of the regular skills, for her A1, her active skill 1, she attacks a single enemy 3 times with 69% attack, 100% chance to inflict damage dealt increase for 1 turn. So you remember that I said about that passive, it's not really that necessary. It is damage dealt decrease 2, but she's going to be inflicting it with her skill 1 on pretty much every single weapon. It is exactly the same. Now, for her skill 2 or active 2, she attacks one enemy twice, total damage of 158% attack, and she gains a shield 8% of her own max HP for 2 turns, and she grants a shield of 13% to all allies except herself for 2 turns. That is strong. The turn count doesn't change with skill ups. The only thing that really changes is the attack damage and the shield percentage. So, and that doesn't change until you get it to level 4. So all in all, it's just a really good, nice, tanky shield that she pops up. Now, if you look at the frost weapon, the effect is very similar. It's just that she attacks all enemies instead of a single enemy. The shield is a slightly higher amount for herself, and the ally with the lowest HP, she gets a shield, or they get a shield, which is 19% of her max HP. So she doesn't cover everybody. She just covers herself and one other ally with the frost weapon. And then she increases the co-op damage. So I don't think that that is too much of a reason for you to take the frost weapon over the storm weapon. Now, moving into the fire weapon. So on skill 2, she attacks all enemies 2 times, grants all allies a shield 11% of her max HP for 2 turns, and co-op damage increase for 4 turns. So again, skill 2, again, not giving me a reason to want to summon either of those other relics or to push super hard in the event dungeon to get one of those other relics. And now we move on to skill 3. So skill 3, she gets a charge attack. So it must be charged for a single turn. So that means that when she's ready and you fire it off, you have to wait 1 turn afterwards before it triggers. So she attacks 5 times. It's not the biggest detriment, just in case you're wondering. She attacks 5 times, hitting 1 random enemy each time. Total damage, 205% attack, plus 285% defense. So her damage scales not only off of her attack, but off of her defense as well, which is super strong. And 100% chance each for the last 2 hits to inflict damage dealt decrease 2 for 1 turn. So again, she's popping that damage dealt decrease on there as well. It's really a super strong skill, and the damage is, I've tested this, pretty damn good. Glorious Silver Wing, so the second weapon, with that one, she doesn't attack 5 times, she just attacks all enemies 3 times, with damage scaling off of attack and defense as well, and a 70% chance to inflict damage dealt decrease as well. So very, very similar skills. I'm just going to go into test skills so you guys can see exactly how this works. So if we go and we do skill 3, let's just make sure that we check she's in the right weapon. So she's in the frost weapon right now. So we'll hit skill 3. She charges up, and then she hits for about 2,000 damage. And remember that he's hitting 3 times. So it's a lot of damage. We'll just finish them off so we give them a good chance for the other weapon. Now, if we move over to the storm weapon, which is the one that she comes with, you can just switch this here in this battle. So we're going to do the same thing, and you can see there is some randomness there. So she hit one, but she hit the other one like 3 times, and then he died. Now, if you trigger that off again, she may hit all of them, for example. There we go. And the damage is super similar. So you can see the damage is actually a bit stronger with this weapon, but it is very similar. So if you don't mind a little bit of randomness, then that is absolutely fine. Okay, so just to let you know, there is not a huge difference, in my humble opinion, between the frost weapon and the storm weapon. So if you have the storm weapon already, you don't really need the frost one. Now, with the flame weapon, there is a difference. Okay, so we've done skill 1 and skill 2, but with skill 3, the charge attack again needs to be charged for 1 turn. I'll just try not to keep you guys super bored. So the charge attack must be charged for 1 turn. She attacks one enemy 4 times with a total damage 212% attack, 260% of her defense, and that's all going on a single target. So this is the boss killer skill. This is why you want the Fire Relic, because she does a massive single target damage, and she still gets that chance to inflict the damage dealt decrease for 2 turns. So the reason you would want the Fire Relic over the Storm Relic is because you can take that up against the bosses that she's good at, and then she becomes not only an awesome tank, but also a really good damage dealer as well. And you can finish, that's her finishing move. So again, we will go into test skills just so you can see exactly what I'm talking about here. I'm sure it's probably already pretty evident, but with skill 3, just check this out. Straight up, just obliteration. And I mean, if you don't have somebody like Guinevere, which most of us don't have Guinevere, he is just all about the damage, but you need a tank that can actually do damage as well, then Guinevere is pretty much the best option out of everybody else. And she doesn't sacrifice things like a percentage of her max HP to be able to use that. So yeah, I would say it's definitely worth going for the Fire Relic, and that is what I'm farming towards at the moment. I think I've got like 14,000 or so coins, so I am farming towards getting Guinevere's Fire Relic. And I just wonder if maybe to end this video off, maybe we shouldn't just go in to the boss, Crumb Crouch in the event dungeon, so that I can show you how effective this hero actually is. So let us just open this up now. Hopefully this will all go smoothly. I'm just going to remove all of these guys, and we'll do a bit of a sort of speed run type tactic here. Just go with like the strongest heroes that I've got leveled, and then we'll put Guinevere in there as well. So her just being there should be enough for us to not get eaten by this dude. And this battle should go pretty quickly. So let me just double check on my skill order settings. You should probably not do this. I'm just going to recommend against doing this. So Kay, we want her with her skill 2. Rosia, we're going to have her with skill 3. Morgan, we're going to do on skill 2 again for the attack gauge decrease. And then Guinevere, we're just going to let Guinevere do her thing. Honestly, she is just there for the passive right now and to protect our team. So she's going to inflict damage decrease on the boss as well. So there's dot immunity. She should have damage increase on the boss somewhere. Let's just auto this mofo. Okay. Get him, get him, get him. Basically, the main thing I want to show you guys about this fight is when the boss tries to eat us and it doesn't happen, because I know this is going to have frustrated all of you so much. So yeah, we'll get to it somewhere soon, probably about when he gets to about half health or so. Table manners, that's not the skill. There it is, Dragon's Gluttony, right. So he literally took out Guinevere. That's the only hero that is out, and now she's back. Just as simple as that. Instead of losing 3 heroes, you only lose 1. And that to me is probably reason enough to want her. I know that there is another hero that you can get this done with. I think I heard somebody talking about it in Discord or somewhere. But there is another hero you can do it with. But thankfully, you know, I've got Guinevere. And if you don't have Guinevere, that right there is just going to help you to beat this boss and literally just take him out without too much hassle. So yeah, it's kind of a shitty one. I don't want to quit this battle because it's just going to be finishing off the boss. But you know what? Just for the sake of this video, I am going to do that because I'll probably die as well. Let me actually die. That would be better. Just die with shame. There is still a bit of RNG to this, obviously. So yeah, it's not going to work every single time. Right, there we go. That's better because then at least I don't lose my stamina. But yeah, that is it's a much easier way to beat it. Obviously, you do need to manual some of these stages, so there's not ever any guarantees. But trust me, guys, that was the only way I could beat this. I'd literally tried it multiple times, all sorts of different ways, and then Guinevere came along and everything changed. So yeah, just a bit of information about her. And like I say, if you are going to go for her, definitely, when you go into the event shop, I would definitely go for the for the flame relic, which is right here. It's 34,000 coins. That's if you're lucky enough to get her. It shouldn't be too difficult. Just remember to farm things the correct way. I do have another video on how you should be farming this event. I will pop a link to that in the description below as well, just so you guys can have a look at that and know how best to farm this dungeon, this specific one. So with that all being said, I wish you guys everything of the best. I hope this video has been useful. Please do let me know in the comments what you guys think about the lovely lady Guinevere. Drop us a like and subscribe to the channel. Share it with your mother, guys. And I'll see you again soon. Bye for now.